Just recently I was talking to one of my really good friends, and we were talking about trust. She was having a really hard time with trusting that money would come to her. And she was flying from Japan to the United States, staying in the United States for only 2 days, and then going to Spain for a vacation. And I said, "You look tired. Why are you flying from Japan to the United States only for 2 days and then to Spain for your vacation?" And she said, "Well, I'm going to save about $1,000. And I said, "Well, that's a good savings in terms of money, but what are you saving in terms of your physiology? Because that's also worth a lot." Think about it. You're going to fly all the way to the United States. You're going to be there for 2 days. You're not going to get anything done because you're going to be totally jet lagged. And then you're going to fly all the way to Spain. Why don't you just go Tokyo to Barcelona? And again, she said, "Yeah, well, that's a lot of money." And I said, "Can I give you a little feedback about this amount of money?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, it's not just this amount of money, but have you noticed how you tighten up every time you go to spend some money on you to take care of you?" And she got real quiet and she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, one of the things that I think, and I've been experiencing myself, is that I know you are always asking to be used, to be a vessel, to really be able to do whatever work is asked of you to do so that you can really be of service to the planet. Is that true?" And she said, "Yeah, that's my prayer." And I said, "Well, if that's your prayer, then why don't you trust? Why aren't you trusting that you're going to be taken care of? I mean, have you ever not been taken care of?" And she said, "No." And I said, what most people do is they insulate themselves. They play it really safe, really close to the hip. They don't take any risks whatsoever. And they do that because they're afraid if they do take a risk, they'll fail. And if they fail, they'll die and everything will be, just this disaster. And I said, "But how do you grow in trust? How do you start to realize that what you don't see is really going on, that what we can perceive as 20% of the world and what is really being organized is being organized by 80% of what we don't see going on?" So how do you start to really trust that you're being taken care of if you're always playing it safe and you're always insulating yourself and you're never giving the universe or nature an opportunity to show you, look, everything's going to be a-okay. Especially everything's going to be a-okay if you're taking care of you. Because that's the way life is designed. And I said, let me tell you about a little story of something that happened to me a long time ago. In the Passion Test, I tell the story about how I followed this woman named Deborah Poneman all over the United States because I wanted to be just like her. She was a seminar leader and she was so fabulous, and I knew nothing about being a seminar leader, and I heard her speak and I thought, oh my God, she has to be my mentor. So I followed her all over the United States, sat down, plunked myself in the front row of her seminar, first in Boston, then in Washington, then in Iowa, all these different states, and finally in Los Angeles, until she one day came into her seminar in LA and said, "Okay, all right already, you're hired." The part of the story I didn't tell everybody else was that after she hired me, she said, "Okay, now I want you to move to Los Angeles." I was living in Northern California at the time. And she said, "I want you to, stay in my house. You can stay in my apartment. And I have to go on a tour. And you can learn all of my content while you're staying in my apartment." And I thought, cool, that's cool. I'd love to do that. And so I packed all my stuff up and I got in my little red car and I started on my way to drive 9 hours down to Los Angeles from Northern California. And about 2 miles on the freeway outside of the city that I was living in at the time, Palo Alto, my little red car blew up. And I ended up having to like just dump it and get on a train and take a train to Santa Monica where she lived. And when I arrived at her house, now this is a woman who was very successful and she thought I was very successful. I had $13 to my name. And I just like put on this like, I'm fine, everything's fine until she left on her tour. And I was so not fine. I was so freaking because I didn't have any money. And I'm sitting there in her little apartment all by myself. And I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I thought, I've got to just trust. So what should I do? And I got in her little, actually, it wasn't a little car. She had a blue Chevy. She loaned it to me. And I got in her little blue Chevy and I drove to this place in Malibu. And it was Paramahansa Yogananda's ashram, this great saint. And he had these beautiful grounds and there were all these beautiful little benches where you could sit, meditative grounds, where people would go and meditate. And he had these little donation boxes and these little, right where you had these seats on his grounds. And I was sitting there and I was meditating and I was praying, please help me. What should I do? Help, 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 help. And then I get this, take all of your money and put it in the donation box. And I'm like, take all of my $13 that I have to my name and put it in the donation box? Okay, so I take my $13 and I put it in the donation box and I get back in Deborah's little or big blue Chevy and I driving down the highway, Santa Monica Highway, and I am so mad at myself and thinking, you Looney Tune radical weirdo, how could you give your last $13 up? What were you thinking, you idiot? I'm really doing this as I'm going. This is my self-talk, as I'm teaching myself how to be a success seminar leader. And I get to her apartment and I am like at my all-time low because now I am totally broke. And right as I'm walking up the steps to her apartment door, I hear the phone ringing inside her apartment. I run to get it, and it's my ex-husband's father, Francis. And he's calling me and he says, Janet, I'm going to come to Los Angeles. I'd love to take you out to lunch. I said, really? I'm thinking free meal. Okay. And so I go. And as it turns out, Francis had just started this multi-level with this product called Herbalife. He told me all about it as we're having lunch. And I said, yeah, it sounds really good. It sounds wonderful. I wish I could do it because it would probably be really cool. I do like people. It looks like a good product. And I say, no, I can't. And he said, well, actually, I brought $500 worth of Herbalife and I'm going to front it to you. You can have it. And that's how you can start this next part of your business and do your seminar stuff too. I'm like, you're kidding me. And he was telling me about this really cool diet product and he put the products on the table as we're eating lunch. Right then, this big waitress walks over, rather big, large-sized waitress, and she looks down and she goes, what's that? I said, what do you mean, what's that? She goes, what are those products? And I said, you don't know about these products? These products help you to lose weight. She said, I want it all. How much is it? I said, it's $100. She said, I'll take it. Okay, moral of the story. Moral of the story. If you don't set up circumstances, if you don't sometimes just set up a circumstances to see that you are always being taken care of, then how will you know that you are always being taken care of? You be your own test tube. I've done it my whole life, and I will tell you that there is nothing more wonderful than having trust and courage and surrender and knowing that everything is always working for you, not against you. Everything.